Hello everybody and welcome. And this is the Midnight McBride Show, episode number 18, or show number 18. And I'm joined in the studio by the only guest that I've now had on for a second time on this show, the only guest that's ever come on twice, and that's my mate Wesley.
Thank you.
All right.
Having me back twice, second time.
Yeah. We discussed, before we get into everything, Wes, we discussed that we thought this show would be a good idea for a number of reasons, because when you did the first show, you were at a pivotal point in your life where you're sort of putting drugs behind you, and moving forward, you started to find peace. The anger was leaving your body because you were angry for a long time, and you were sort of a spiritual awakening, we could call it.
Yeah.
And at that point, your life took a new direction. And so it's interesting for us to see how you're getting on and where you're up to. But also very interesting to see where you're heading.
Yeah.
You know, because as I talk about regularly, Wayne Dyer always said it's not about where you're at, it's where you're heading. Yeah. If you're in a fantastic place, but you're moving away from it, it feels terrible. You know, you're moving from positive to negative. Even though you're in a great situation, you're leaving it.
Yeah.
And so if you're in a negative situation, you can be in a terrible place, but you're moving towards a better place, into a positive situation. It feels good. So it's never about where you're at, it's where you're heading. So
definitely.
Talk about where you're heading. Yeah. And we've called this show, and it's very relevant, PTSD to plants.
Yes.
Yes, and we'll expand on that a little bit and why. So we'll start off on the first show. You had Darren, we like to call him
Spinach Burger.
Darren Siegenberg.
Yeah.
And we got him on the show. I did the show with the two of you because he had the CIC, you know, the Mine Corps, to help people that had been in the military and maybe had problems adjusting back into society. Yeah. You fit that bill, perhaps, a bit. And we had great fun, great show, had a lot of laughs. Funniest show we've ever done, because the outtakes at the end, there was about 10, 12 minutes of outtakes. And it wasn't because we were getting stuff wrong. It was just because outside the B-roll, outside the main footage for this show, it was just hysteria. You know, we just sort of bounced off each other, and it was...
Hence the T-shirt today. Breathe.
Yeah, because... on the very first show, I fortunately have backup audio, so we were okay. Yeah. I now have 7 lots of backup audio. 7. Because I even had what's called the H6 here, the field recorder. Yeah. That died. And although that's only ever happened once, all the audio runs through this. So it took out 5 of my audio streams. Yeah. But because I've got 7, I was still okay. But I have to be bulletproof, you know.
Well, when you said... oh, that's not switched on, Darren took one look at me and I just took one look at that picture over there that said breathe. So I was like...
you actually said fucking breathe.
I'm breathing.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
But yeah, on the very first show, I forgot to press record.
Yeah, you did.
So there we go. So, Wes, how you doing?
I'm doing really, really good. I mean, since Christmas, as you know yourself, you saw me at Christmas, I was in a bad place, and here we are in... well, coming up to August now.
It's a complete change, everything changed.
Well, that night, the London Concertante, for example, changed everything.
Which is an amazing chamber orchestra, by the way, that we
really good. I
been seeing regularly. I wrote about them in the book, and I think there was 25, 30 of us or something along these lines to watch them, and they're amazing, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, you phoned me up. I remember being at work and you said, Wes, do you fancy a night at the orchestra? And I was like, it's not. And I was umming and ahhing, and I thought, this isn't really my bag from what I was used to, like being in the clubs, working on the doors and the dance music. And I thought, well, a night at the orchestra, I thought it's not really my cup of tea. But that night, it was absolutely fantastic. It really was. And then that night where I met Darren, you tried pairing me up with Darren. But obviously I met somebody else that night as well. And it's just from there, it's just... yeah.
Which was never my intention. You know, the fact is, I joke with Willow and say that we can't even give somebody a lift, you know, without something happening, you know. But there was magic in the air that night.
It was. That night was amazing.
Yeah. I'm so glad I did it, because it was pre-lockdown, before all the stuff that's gone on. And, you know, who knows when we can do it again. There's no concerts at the minute and stuff. So there's a lot of things, synchronicity, that for some reason, I knew that needed to be done then. It felt right. And now I know why.
Yeah.
you know. So
the night of the concert, you introduced me to Darren, and then you introduced me to Janet, that I'd met previously about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So she gives me a bit of stick now that obviously I don't remember for back then, but her was completely different. So that's my get out clause. But from that night, my life just took a different path. It's a new group of friends doing different things, experiencing new things. It's amazing. Yeah. It's really good.
So Wesley, you were the first guest I ever had on the radio twice as well.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah,
you had me twice on the radio.
Salford City Radio, and I think Darren was a bit peeved about that, but he said he did 2 shows me back to back in one day. So
Darren, this is like my second time on the show. I just thought I'd drop it in, but if he's watching, you go, I know he will be. So I just thought I'd drop it in.
You've ended up becoming really good friends with Darren, haven't you? You know.
Yeah, we're in touch all the time. I believe he's in the south of France at the moment. He's working over there.
I did not know that.
Oh, did you
on
not?
some secret special ops.
No, he was working down in London for a while, and obviously during COVID and lockdown and so on and etc. And I know people are getting bored talking about that. So he's ended up working in the south of France for a short while. So,
is he allowed to discuss what he's doing?
I don't really know what he's doing. He's just said that he was catching a flight out to south of France.
He might have a pair of trunks on, selling himself on the streets, on the cobble streets of Paris, trying to earn a few bob.
Smelling like cocoa butter and cash. I was writing him up about that.
Yeah. So you and Darren had a lot in common. One of the things was the doors, that you both did the doors, and obviously that's how I met you. You know, you'd actually come out the army at that point.
Yeah, I did.
If anybody hasn't seen the first show, we'd maybe tell them that your history is that you're in the army.
Yeah.
And you sort of special forces and done various tours, back-to-back tours at various places. Maybe list a couple of the places you'd done your tours.
Bosnia, Kosovo, Northern Ireland, Iraq, places like that. And like my second time in Northern Ireland, I was part of a specialist military unit. And you closed off from everybody there, and that's when I first started to struggle back in 2006 and then that's when I was first diagnosed with PTSD, because I'd done these back-to-back tours. There was no respite, there was no let-up. And then I found myself, when I left the army, there was no real opportunities as such, so it was like the first port of call. You start doing security work, and then you fall into the doors, and you work in clubs, and then comes the drugs and the drink and that kind of lifestyle.
It's not the healthiest environment. You don't sleep much. You don't sleep when everybody else does, and you're constantly surrounded. When everybody else is partying, you're working, so you sort of normalise drugs and alcohol being, every night kind of thing, isn't it?
You do. And then during week, you're working as well. You're working doors, and it becomes too much, and then you can only do it for so long. And like I said, we're from similar backgrounds. We both grew up in Bolton. And then, like I said, it got to last September, October time. I became ill to the point where I was having a hypertensive crisis, and I was still drinking and being at home, and like through my marriage broke up as well. And then I got a house, and
the physical aspects of the illness probably came, with panic attacks and things like this. And,
it does.
But prior to that, as long as I'd know you anyway, you'd struggled, and in that period when we first met, so was I, for different reasons, but we were struggling. We weren't coping very well. Yeah. And a big part of it, with yourself especially, but also with me and on occasion, certainly when I was younger, was anger as well.
Yeah, anger comes with it.
Rage, violence, all of that. Yeah. And now when you become peaceful and step back and look at that, it's a terrible thing, and it destroys the person that's angry. Yeah. Plus, usually it pops out because it's uncontrolled, and you're temporarily insane because you're mad. Yeah. And it's very traumatic and upsetting for anybody that's on the other end of it as well, isn't it? So. And
like I said, I hope you don't mind me saying, at Christmas time, I had a breakdown. I was in a really bad place, and it was you and Willow came to see me, and you told me to breathe, and everything was going to be all right, and take one day at a time. and think from a beautiful garden, and you'll see flowers everywhere. And I thought, I need that space. I need that let up. I need to stop overthinking things. My mind was at 100 miles an hour. I used to think what people thought of me, how people judged me.
Yeah. It's trying to switch your mind off, isn't it? And drugs was one way of doing it, but there are better ways.
Yeah. And it wasn't just that. It was like with my PTSD, I mean, I got my medical records back recently. I'd been re-referred 23 times over the last few years between Greater Manchester Mental Health, my normal GP, combat stress, the military veteran service, and I was getting no help. I was just being passed around from point to point, even to the point there was a GP at a walk-in surgery who looked at my notes. He took his glasses off and he started to tear up, the actual doctor himself, and he said how some veterans, some soldiers are treated. He said it's absolutely ridiculous. So they'd kept me on propanolol, diazepam, metazapine, all kinds of the conventional drugs and antidepressants, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I just found myself just shut off and numb to everything as well. And like I said, just after Christmas, when you phoned me and said it's time to experience something new, and it said, and I had that bit of time to think, and I went along that night, and it was like, it was amazing. If somebody can describe it in one word, it was magical. That night was absolutely magical, and it was the start for me in the last 6 months. The people that I've met, spoke to online, the videos that I've watched, and for example, they did a summer solstice online on the Zoom, obviously because of lockdown, and a beautiful woman called Rita Reyes. She did a summer solstice online, and it was that sense of community and love, and all them people that were online from all over the world. I thought, this is what it's about. It's not about getting off your face in a club. That was it was amazing. It really was.
What you find is that when you're ready to change, you think, I can't carry on like this, and you have to explore avenues that at first you think that's not for me and maybe a bit scary, but you've got to go down those routes because you've got to try the 10 to find the 2. If you don't try new things, you'll never find the stuff that works for you. And in doing that, quite often you'll get your new group of people, this spiritual community, and at first you think they're all mental. And then after a while you look at them and you think, oh no, it's me.
Well, what it was that night that you came to pick me up to the orchestra, and you had Janet in the car, and we went to the concertante, and it was like, Darren actually made a comment because the orchestra were playing, which was beautiful, and I just happened to keep looking over at Janet, and she was just like lit up, and it's like she loved the music, loves dancing. And everything else, and I couldn't take my eyes off her. And Darren was at the point where he kept nudging me, going, "The orchestra's playing, but your eyes are over there." So it was like something just happened that night. It's like I don't know. You know when they say, right, love at first sight, and I just couldn't take my eyes off her. And after that, we got talking, and she introduced me to a lot of things as well. I was invited over to Blackpool. And like Janet yourself, she's been on your radio show. And when I got there, it was like she was showing me like the crystals and the work that she does, and the healing and the wands and her altar and everything, and the saging and the rattle, and I was like, I'm a bit out of my depth. It was honestly
the first time it is, but then now, for instance, we might come to yours for tea or something like that at some point, and if we did. Myself and Will have been like, any chance of giving us a quick smudge?
Get the sage out,
get the bird's wing out,
and abalone show with the sage. And well, at first it's something new. It's like the first time when you told me about meditation. I came along to one of your meditation classes, and it always makes me chuckle. This, and we was in Bolton Library. I was upstairs in the art gallery. Lovely venue, a lot of people, and you said, right, like close your eyes and by that place, and I remember like looking around like that with one eye open, looking at everybody else. And then it wasn't, and I think I mentioned it to you. The first few times it was like it's not working, but I stuck with it. And I just remember one particular night. It was about 10 past 10, I switched everything off, and I thought, right, let's go for it. Let's do it. And then the next minute, it was like 12:20. 2 hours had gone, and I was amazed, because it was like, I looked at the clock. It was 10:10, and like a couple of hours had just gone. And I thought, there are some benefits to it. You can shut the day off.
Probably the first time you had what we'd call maybe deep rest,
Yeah.
where you actually switch your mind off completely by natural means, through choosing to do so, by, whatever method, but meditation. And it might be the first time you'd actually done that for years.
Yeah.
Most people think, I relax, but they'll have the telly on, or they've got the radio on, or they're relaxing but they're talking to somebody. And there's nothing wrong with those things. Yeah. But actual proper going into the gap, peace, absolute, just quiet. Very few people have that.
Yeah. Well, I found what it was, because I'm a Class 1 truck driver, and I'm always planning my route for the next day. So I was always planning ahead. Where I was thinking the night before what I was going to be doing the next day, and I try getting in the habit of just, no, tomorrow's a different day. After midnight, it's a change. Tomorrow's tomorrow. And
I love the fact you referred to midnight there.
Yeah.
Because I probably, certainly on the show, I don't think I've ever said why my name's Midnight McBride. And midnight is it's where the night turns to day. It's the darkest point. It's where darkness turns to light. It's a new beginning. It's a fresh start. It's that turning point where you change direction and you move away from the night or the darkness into the light. That's why midnight.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, in meeting new people, especially like yourself and Janet, it's before Christmas. If somebody said Eckhart Tolle to me, for example, I'd be like, "Who are you talking about?" Wayne Dyer is who you talking about? And I've started to read some of their books, and they're absolutely amazing. They do help. I mean, Janet gifted me the book, The Power of Now. Yeah. Where it's like me, like yourself in the past, I've still got a bit of an ego. I had a massive ego where it's like I used to overthink things, and it's like, just, no. It doesn't matter about tomorrow. It doesn't matter about the past. It's where you're at now. Yeah, and exactly. I can't convey that message.
Exactly. The Power of Now, I've got it on audiobook. I read the book. I've got it on audiobook now, and I must have gone through that, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, maybe more, from start to finish, and then A New Earth and so on. And Eckhart Tolle, he's an enlightened being. Yeah. There's only a few on the planet. Wayne Dyer was definitely up there with his wisdom. Yeah. Eckhart Tolle, I would say, is an enlightened being. Sadhguru is an enlightened being. There's not many on the planet, but there are some.
Yeah. And what I found about Wayne Dyer is, like, some of his good work, as he puts it, but some of his great work, he found himself waking up at like the small hours of the morning, between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And recently, I've started to do that. I mean, I've started playing the guitar. I'd never picked up an instrument before. I think we just touched on it on the last show.
I know, because you send me videos all the time.
Yeah, I know, they're great, aren't they?
10 o'clock at night.
They are great.
Just going to sleep. And I said, we've got another one, Willow.
But it's not just that. I mean, I've been introduced to a lot of things as well. I mean, health-wise, I knew where I was. I was overweight. I wasn't eating right, and like I said, people like yourself and like especially Janet, who I'm seeing now, she's a vegetarian, and she went, "Have you ever thought about not eating meat?" And like, I used to love my meat, go out for a meal, and it'd be thingy. So no, I'm not eating meat anymore. Which I feel great for.
Yeah. Well, you've had a shave.
Yeah, I do. On the first show, I have the big bushy beard.
You've had a wash.
Shower, thank you.
But the big thing is you dropped a lot of weight, haven't you?
2.5 stone.
Yeah.
2.5 stone, and that was just a change in lifestyle. Eating healthy, more fish and veg and salads and stuff.
You've not been exercising like a nutter, but you've been doing a lot of walking.
Yeah.
And so really, predominantly, it's down to diet, isn't it? It's choosing,
a lot of it is diet,
yeah. Talking about walking, we, had a little walking group set up, didn't we?
We did, it was great. We've had some great days out,
to help us sort of cope with, with everything that's going on. And we went out, we'd walk for 3 or 4 hours, usually do 10 or 12 miles, and just switch off and spend the time in nature. And it's beautiful.
Yeah,
you know? And we did a little personal walk, me and you, didn't we? On an evening.
I got a phone call at about tea time, about 5 o'clock, saying, Wes, I'm going for a walk. So we ended up going towards Adlington, beautiful little trail, but the heavens opened up in the last half an hour to 40 minutes.
It was still nice, wasn't it?
It was amazing.
It's like
it was really good.
Bedingfield's Daniel, is it? What's she called? Bedingfield. Daniel Bedingfield's sister.
Is it Natalie Bedingfield?
Yeah. And she did the "Feel the Rain on Your Skin." The rest is still unwritten.
We sure felt the rain that night, my friend.
But unwritten. I love that song. The lyrics are beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So long as it's not "Take Me Dancing Naked in the Rain." Well, you never know.
Yeah. So, Wes, you also, since you started on this quest, you're playing the guitar and expressing yourself, but you've always been quite prolific in poetry. You write a lot of poetry, and that's a brilliant way of expressing yourself. And you've been compiling these, and we discussed last time that the end game now is to get these put together and published.
Yeah. Basically, what it was when I was in the army, you can't express yourself when you're in a room full of alpha males. You've got another 20 guys that you're going out on patrol with every day. The last thing you say is when you're coming off patrol.
Have you smelt those petunias?
Yeah. Have you read this poem that I've just done? So no, I'd kept some, and I always felt that I couldn't express myself. So like since Christmas, I thought, do you know what? I'm in my 40s now, and there's nothing wrong with being able to open up. I've seen and done enough things in my time that I'm not particularly proud of. And like I even look back to my time in the army. But it's now, I do put pen to paper and I write down what I'm feeling, and poems about love and friendship and just finding happiness, really. Yeah. And that's what it's all about. It's like, I know it sounds a bit corny when people say spread love and joy. That's 100 times better than being menacing and
yeah. So Wes, now this is why the show's called From PTSD to Plants.
Yes.
Maybe I'll kick off here and I'll talk a little bit about what we're going to discuss. So I make no secret about it. I've taken lots of recreational drugs in the past and to excess, and I was taking them because I wasn't coping very well and I had a problem. Yeah. I then stopped taking the drugs, and maybe at some point in the future I want to join. I want to go to Amsterdam, have a bit of cake or something. I don't know, but as a general rule, I don't take drugs now. But then you've got plant medicines now. Yeah. Plant medicines, there's lots of different types, and I'm going to explain maybe the difference, and then we'll bring you in. Yeah. But for example, you have chemically produced recreational drugs. They're taken for pleasure, they're usually addictive, and usually, if taken frequently, you end up with a problem, especially if it's in cahoots with alcohol and stuff as well. And they're, on the whole, not necessarily a great thing. No. Then you've got plant medicines. Now, plant medicines, people think that you're taking something, and if it affects you, certainly if it's psychotropic or hallucinogenic, they think that you're just taking it to get off your head and have a laugh. No. And that's not the case. Plant medicines are usually taken with a shaman. Yeah. They're usually taken on a retreat in a controlled environment over a period of days, which also coincide with they'll run yoga, meditation, and workshops, and also your diet's very important while you're doing it. Sometimes you have to fast first. When you take plant medicines, and there's different types, you're going to have right down from the basics of cannabis, which, although it's illegal to take in this country because of the THC, the content of it, which we know. However, half the UK is now taking cannabis because they've now legalised it for medicinal purposes in the form of CBD oil. So there's massive benefits to cannabis for arthritis, anxiety, depression, sleep. Mm-hmm. Then you move into the realms of perhaps mushrooms. Now, people again think, magic mushrooms, whatever. But mushrooms, certain mushrooms and fungus have massive benefits to the human body, both physically and mentally. And certain clinics abroad, again, not necessarily here, they have used LSD and mushrooms that we've talked about on a previous show to to help people who suffer from particularly PTSD.
Yeah.
You know, and then you move into the likes of Wachuma, which is also called San Pedro, and peyote. They're both cactuses, plants of the light, the male version of the plant, hallucinogenic plants, the sacred plants of South America.
Yep.
And these are mescaline.
Yeah.
Mushrooms, generally, it is psilocybin, the likes of this. And then you move into possibly the most extreme example of this, which would be ayahuasca. And ayahuasca is what they call the vine of the soul. They've been taking it for thousands of years in South America. It's a shamanic ritual, a ceremony. It's got a DMT in it, but on its own, you need to take another plant to activate it with the vine. And this then produces, unlike recreational drugs where you're speeding up, slowing down, fast, slow, whatever, in this realm, you leave this realm.
Yeah.
And when you have Wachuma to a degree, but with ayahuasca definitely, ayahuasca being the plant of the dark, the female plant, these sacred plants, when you take them, they initially give you a purge, which can make you vomit, sweat, shake, scream, whatever. And also possibly you could have diarrhea, things like this, but they flush the toxins and poisons out of your body in quite a harsh manner.
Yeah.
They also then take you on a journey. It can last for about 8 hours. And this journey, usually they say it's equal to having 10 years of counselling or therapy in one night.
Yeah.
It's intense. Most people that do this, just to be clear, if you think you're going to do this and you're going there for fun, it doesn't mean you could have a nice time.
Yeah.
But on a recreational pursuit, you're going to get a shock.
Yeah.
This is the different road.
No.
This is the path of healing.
Yeah.
You know all this. I'm just making so that everybody else
Oh, yeah,
does.
I understand it.
Yeah.
It's like if you're considering doing this, do your research and look into it, and it is not for fun.
The reason I talk about all these things is because I've done them all.
Yeah.
And about 4 years ago, I took ayahuasca. And I again, some of these plants, generally most of the plant medicines, and that's what they are, they're medicine. They're not recreational drugs. People take them for healing. When you're desperate, when you've tried pharmaceuticals, when you've anxiety, depression, suicidal, and you've nowhere left to turn, that's when people go. Not because they want to get off their head. That's not what it's about. And I was desperate.
Yeah.
And I took ayahuasca, and it changed everything.
Yeah.
From that point forward, my life took a total change in direction.
Yeah.
I discovered meditation. I became peaceful, but I couldn't get rid of this sadness. I was unhappy. I was depressed. And these plants are generally illegal in this country, and so a lot of people, they go away abroad to do these these retreats. I went to Portugal for 4 days, and we did Wachuma, ayahuasca, etc. So I've experienced this. Now, the reason I talk about it is I took a couple of years of research before I decided I was ready. Because if you take this lightly, if you think you're going in, it's not. It's whatever you know, this physical realm that's around you, everything that's physical, everything that you can grab onto, everything that holds you here disappears. And you're in this dark place, this hole, and there's nowhere to turn, and you have got to deal with your shit. And it can be, and it was for me as well.
It can be traumatic.
Terrifying. Terrifying. It was traumatic. And a moment can feel like a year, and it felt like it went on forever. And it was a rough ride. Yeah. But I had some knots, problems, issues that I hadn't been addressing. I tried everything I could to shift them. Yeah. And this untangled them and it undid them. Yeah. So I've talked enough there, Wes, but the reason I'm saying all that is now because I know that this is something you're looking at.
What I'm looking at is, like I mentioned earlier,
and we're in no way encouraging anybody to do this. We're discussing what I have done and what Wes is looking at. Yeah. It's a personal choice, and it's illegal in this country. So if you are doing it, you probably have to go to another country to do it. And as we say, this is not fun time. This is serious business, and this is healing. No.
It's like I said, I was diagnosed 2006, 14 years ago. In the last 4 years, I've been referred 23 times between the services. And like I said, since Christmas, I've met a number of people along this journey. I've met people that are involved and that have been on retreats, that have been abroad, that have experienced this. And yeah, I've researched it. I've looked at it. I'm not taking it lightly. Like I say, I've tried all the conventional medicines, propanol, all the drugs, and And then I've looked at the benefits of the plant medicines, how they perform, the rituals that take place, the communities where they take place, how it's done by shamans, how you looked after it. It's a community. Like I say, I'm not doing this for fun because I want to find a correlation that plant medicines can help people with PTSD. And in my journey, like I said, I am writing everything down. So basically, it's a journal. It's a journal of my journey from PTSD to plant medicines. And if I find it can help, I want to benefit others that are suffering from PTSD, from soldiers as opposed. I see veterans on the streets with problems, and if I can find that link that it does help, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, it's with ayahuasca, for example. If you've had a trauma in your life, you're going to have to. Where we suppress things, as generally in our society, you suppress something, you leave it there, and it'll never go away, and it'll always be there, and it'll eventually make you ill. On this night, if you went and did an ayahuasca ceremony, for example, and you're in Portugal or Brazil or wherever you might be, places where it's legal, then that trauma's it's going to be right in front of you, and you're going to have to go through it and come out the other side of it. But once you do that, and you do it once, and you go through it and you face it head on, it dissolves, it disappears, and you can get on with your life. Yeah,
I know I've had problems in the past, even before the military, and that have been traumatic. Even to the point people said they have told me how I'm still here, things that I've been through. Like I said, I just want to help people and show people the benefits that can be. And it like you said, it is not a game. You have to take this seriously. And I'm not saying to anyone, just go and do this for fun, like you've said. You've got to do your research, think about it, start working on yourself. I mean, I'm blessed. I mean, I've got the most beautiful girlfriend now who's by my side every step of the way through this journey. She's been on retreats herself. She's worked on herself over a number of years, been on shamanic retreats and knows that community really, really well. Yeah. And basically holding my hand every step of the way, and I couldn't be more grateful for a better guide because it's amazing. So, like I say, I'm just writing everything down, where I'm at now and where I will be in the future. I've looked at certain dates and places to go and the people that I want to experience this with. Which I'm there because, like you say, it is a daunting thing. But I've looked at people's testimonies. I've watched things on various channels, YouTube, and I've read their diaries, and it's helped with traumatic events. And
Brian Rose from London Real, Joe Rogan, Wayne Dyer, all
David
ayahuasca.
Icke, he's now, another one.
With the ayahuasca, what people, unlike any other drug that you might take it and then you take it again and take it again. I think twice. I've done ayahuasca twice. Yeah. I'm not in a hurry to do it again. Yeah. Because it's severe. I just knew when it was time. Yeah. And then afterwards, I needed months to process what had happened. But what happened is I went from being unhappy for 20 years. On the other side of the ayahuasca, I started to see the light again. I experienced joy and bliss, and I became happy again. It changed everything. I
mean, I've looked at different ones. I've looked at the ayahuasca. I've looked at DMT, Kambo ceremonies. I think I don't think I know that I'm ready now because you find with ayahuasca and Kambo there is a calling and you feel it. I think you get to a certain point where you think it's now. Yeah, it is now.
With all of these things, you sort of prepare yourself mentally. You start making some good decisions. You generally start to reduce your medication. The drinking, drugs, all of that will slide away. And you maybe start eating better. And then you start on this journey of putting yourself back together. It's a healing journey. Yeah. And only you know when you're ready because you have to condition your mind. You're thinking, this could be rough. Yeah. But I thought, well, whatever's coming, I'm ready now because my options, there aren't many. You know, I've been suicidal in my life on a number of occasions, and ayahuasca. The other thing with ayahuasca, which it's great for, in other countries that are a little bit more liberal than we are, certainly in some European countries, Sweden, Norway, things like this, is for addiction. Yeah, you take ayahuasca. Usually, if you do 7 ceremonies on the bounce with ayahuasca. Whatever you're addicted to, heroin, cocaine, anything like that, it's removed. The ayahuasca will give you a slap in the face and get rid of it. And you wake up and you have these, they call them plant teachers, don't they? Because you have these realizations. And while you're on the plants, you get shown the errors of your ways, you get shown a better way of living, you get shown, you get to a sort of retrospective and outward look back in on your own life. And again, it can be terrifying. But yeah.
But no, like I said, I'm grateful because I've got Janet by my side as well, and she showed me a lot of things where I still fall as well, because it's still a learning process. At the end of the day, this journey that you're on, it's like one of the hardest ones for me was letting my ego go, which I still struggle with. My addictions, I don't drink anymore, not to the excess like I did. Don't take drugs anymore, recreational drugs. Yeah. I was supposed to be on my medication, but then I feel numb to it, to the big pharma medication, as I put it. So this was the alternative, and then you get that, like I say, you get that calling. So this is where I'm at now, and I want my journey as evidence really to support others.
So to be clear, not encouraging anybody to do this. No. We're discussing about my personal journey, about your journey potentially where it's going, and it's a personal thing, and you have to assess it for yourself. And doing certainly some of the plant medicines, although they're massively beneficial, they're not necessarily recognised as medicine or healing, and you have to go abroad to do them.
No, but it's like when I did my research. I mean, like you said, they've been practicing these rituals for like thousands of years. Yeah. So I've looked at it like that, and like I say, I don't condone anyone to do it. It's like you say, it's personal choice. Take it serious and
do your own research and make your
definitely.
Own decisions. You have to.
Yeah,
we couldn't advise anybody to do it, but for me, I'm very glad I did it. I'm not in a hurry to do it again at the moment because it's intense. Yeah. Some people only ever do it once. Yeah. It's not, like I say, it's not an addictive journey, it's some people do it more than that. They might do it, a lot. But most people do it very infrequently because it's such a traumatic or certainly such a biblical epic event. It's serious business.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I've also done Cambo. Now, that's not a plant medicine. It's the secretion from a frog. Now, I'll talk about this. Again, this is something, it's not for everybody. And you don't have, there's no hallucinogenic side to this. No. But you can have what they call altered states of consciousness. And you'll breathe and, you have an experience. And Cambo is where they take the secretion. Yeah. It's not poison, it's just a secretion from a frog. They don't harm the frog. Yeah. And then you have 5 small burns put on your arm or your body. They then just dab a dot of the Cambo, and this frog secretion then goes in through your skin into your lymphatic system. Again, you have a purge, and you could have diarrhea, but generally it's just vomiting, sweating. You feel like your head's going to swell up and explode, and you go bright red and things like this. But again, I did the Cambo, and I afterwards experienced some amazing alignment, synchronicity, and a massive shift in my feeling, my well-being. It shifts, rather than the physical element of shifting, what's in your belly and throwing up and stuff. It shifts energy. Yeah. So, Wes, tell us about your meditation practice now. So, are you still meditating? I'm still meditating at the night time, not as much as I'd like to, so I'll be open and honest. Each time, because I'm to and fro from Blackpool, but yes, I do meditate. I play my guitar. I've got into the habit now where I used to sit there in front of the TV, watch a bit of Netflix, and I had to find myself to switch the TV off and play my guitar, clear my mind, and then yes, I light my candles in the living room, and then that's my time. I mean, Janet laughs. I've got my own smudging fan now. I've got my abalone shell. I can sage the living room. Have you got a rattle yet? I haven't got a rattle, but I've got my guitar, and I've got my incense burners, and it's
People see that's what the people would mock and laugh. People that knew me way back when to where I'm at now, where I see my old friends and you've probably done it yourself. When you change, you've got to change your environment, and so it's when your lifestyle changes, your friends change. I mean, I was only joking with Janet last night about this. My friends list on Facebook at Christmas, when you saw me, I was at Christmas. I had a friend call on Facebook, people that knew me from the past, who was tied into the drugs and drink and the clubs. And
you deleted all 4?
All 3. All 3 of them, not 4. That's pushing it, all 3. But no, you've got to change your environment. You've got to change your lifestyle. You've got to look at yourself at mirror like I did that Christmas when you said, "Wes, breathe, it's going to be all right." And I looked, and I've got no shame in saying this. I was absolutely in tears. I was heartbroken. I thought, I have to change. I took a serious look at myself. I looked at the friends on Facebook and I thought, no, it's not me anymore. I don't want that anymore. I don't want that anymore. Don't want that anymore. I've changed how I eat, changed how I sleep. I've changed how I conduct myself. I tried to be more loving towards people. I tried to be more friendly towards people. And I find
it
helps.
It shows.
You know,
you're a different person.
Yeah.
Wes is a different person. Yeah. Turn your world around.
It's like I find it's the people that you meet as well. Like yourself, you've had some amazing guests on the show, and like people I've met over the last 6 months, and I thought this is what it's about. It's not about that. It's not about and it's all about love and community and support and friendship. And I mean, when we were in the walking group, for example, I've been on walks before, but you don't appreciate what's around you. I've gone on a walk and thought, I really don't want to go on a walk. But I think on one of the last walks that we was on, we were walking on a footpath, and then this robin redbreast, not even at that point of year would you see a redbreast. And it was sat on a bench. It was sat on the branch, wasn't it, for about 5 to 10 minutes. And there was me, yourself, Willow.
We were about a foot away from it. And it sang for literally a foot, so it wasn't frightened of us. And for about 4 to 5 minutes, it sang for us. We had our own little robin concert.
It was amazing. So, and then I thought back to like I was a couple. You wouldn't appreciate anything like that, and it was like I just remember as I stood there with Rousford and looking up. I thought, this is amazing. Do you know what I mean? And it was absolutely great. And you're seeing people riding past on bikes and with their dogs, and like they just don't notice that, but when you're with like-minded people, you do, and you appreciate it more.
When you're going at 100 miles an hour, you miss everything.
You do.
You miss everything. Your mind's busy. Only when you quiet your mind, you slow down and become peaceful inside, and you find a little bit of quiet and stuff. When you're peaceful, then you can look around and you start to become fully present. You slow down and you start to appreciate the beauty in everything.
Yeah. It's like Janet, for example, she laughs because sometimes I will flip back to my old lifestyle, when things can get on top of you. I mean, I still do it sometimes. I find myself in them moments, but she's very good at saying, stop. No, I mean, you
put the dress back. You're stretching them.
I knew you were going to come out with something. We were like Borat on the first show that you go. And no, it was what it is. It's a journey, and you can't change overnight. You still have your old patterns, and sometimes your old routines will want to creep back in. Yeah. And like I said, with Janet, she's done the work herself, and she's very good at. You said not to swear before the show, but it's like if I'm thinking
it to a minimum.
I'll keep it to a minimum.
You swear away.
Basically, I can find myself. I'll still get a bit angst, still a bit wound up, and if I start to rant, she'll go, enough of that shit. She'll put her hand up like that, and she'll go, that's it. And it's like,
oh yeah,
right, I've got nowhere to go now. So,
but like you say, everybody will think that I write and talk meditation, write about meditation, talk about having a peaceful life. In life, there is always oscillations and fluctuations. Always. There's always going to be ups and downs. It's trying not to have the extreme ups and the extreme downs, and developing a skill set and the tools to do two things. One, to recognise the signs of when you're veering off, and then having the skill set and the tools to pick yourself up and put yourself back together again fairly quickly. That's all it is. You're still going to fall off, but you catch yourself and you bring yourself back.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm so appreciative of all the friends that I'm making and I've made since Christmas. It's
the frequency you display attracts the people in your day. Now you're peaceful and starting resonating peace, love, and light.
Yeah.
You're going to draw this spiritual community towards you.
Yeah.
You know, so it'll grow and develop.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. I love it.
Yeah. What we're going to do, Wesley, is I know that you said that at some point in the future you are looking at possibly doing ayahuasca. This is part of your journey. It's your decision. It's something you may do, and you may go to retreat abroad.
Yeah.
Possibly at that point, if you've done that, then maybe we'll talk to you about it afterwards. You can tell us about the experience.
Oh, that, I mean, I'd love that, because like I say, it's all going in a journal. It's like my journey from Christmas to now and where I'm at, the people that I've met, my research into ayahuasca, peyote, with tumour, and what benefits it can have. And it's all going in there. So, yeah, I'd love to go back on.
The follow-up show to this, after maybe you've had an experience with plant medicine of some kind, we'll talk about the experience and then see how you've changed, see the benefits.
You see the benefits now from the first show. I'll be like 8 stone.
Yeah, so...
Well, no, I'd love to do that, yeah, definitely.
Wesley Dyson, thank you very much for coming on the show.
It's been amazing.
My very good friend. We say to each other, when I see you, as in two monks would say in a monastery, they'd say, I'd say, hello, Brother Dyson.
Oh, Brother Midnight.
Yeah.
It's when we ring each other up, it's Brother Midnight.
Yeah, as if we're monks.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks very much, Wes.
No, you're more than welcome. I love it. Thank you.
I'm going to lead the show this week with a quote, and it's a quote that you've referenced a couple of times, and I know you like it. It's from the book, obviously, From Pills to Peace by Midnight McBride. And it's, you can't build the truth on a lie. Now, let me explain this a little bit. It means that if you try and have all your old ways and then put your life back together again without making some fundamental changes, you won't get very far. You need stable foundations in order to do this. Quite often, in my instance, when I had a nervous breakdown, I removed all my friends, created a safe zone, and then I chose very carefully who I let back in.
Yeah.
Rather than picking one or two, and this, I needed to create space.
You do.
And then I had to choose very carefully about people I let back into my life, you know. But you can't build the truth on a lie. So you have to make some fundamental changes. You have to be honest with yourself, and that's one of the hardest things to do. But when you strip yourself down like an onion and get down to your true nature, your true self, the raw essence that is your soul, that is you, and learn to like yourself, you can start to put yourself back together again.
Because what I found with that saying is, when somebody can offer you advice, somebody new that you meet like yourself, like Janet, and tell you where you're going wrong or where they feel what might be wrong with you and where you need help. I was at the stage where it's like, I'm over 40. I've got this far. There is nothing wrong with me. It's like, no, there is something wrong with me, because it's evident. They can see it. The people that love you see it, and that's it. You can't build the truth on a lie. You've got to be honest with yourself, and you've got to do the work.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
where I'm at now.
So something I'd like to add maybe about what you're saying about doing the work with plant medicine. You can take what they might call a recreational dose of some things, for example, mushrooms, cannabis, wachuma, peyote. Not so much with ayahuasca.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any recreational aspect to that. But you can still have benefits from these plant medicines by taking small amounts. But the real work is done is when you on a shamanic retreat and you have a larger dose, you know, and you're in an environment where you're not anxious, it's legal in that country, you're being looked after, you're being cared for, you're in a spiritual community. And the real untangling is done when you're in that dark place. The real work is hard. It's not easy. You know, they say with Kambo, it's the warrior path. Yeah. Because it's an intense... Kambo's only for about 2 or 3 hours, and the intense part's only about 20 minutes. But when you have it, it's you don't feel great at the time. No. You know, but sometimes you have to go through that to... Yeah.
It's like you said, it's a personal choice. It's when you are ready for it.
Yeah. I feel that the next show we do is going to be very interesting.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. There's also something else we've not mentioned as well, which I'll discuss, and that is with with psilocybin, so there's, you know, in Amsterdam, for example, truffles, psilocybin truffles are legal, which are basically the same as the mushrooms, apart from the truffle goes below ground and the mushroom goes above ground. But with these things, and psilocybin and certain mushrooms, people do what they call microdosing.
Yeah.
And this is where you have what they call when you take certain substances, you have what they call an active dose.
Yeah.
You're way below that. So you take it and you don't feel anything as such on that day. You're taking a tiny amount, you know. I believe with psilocybin or mushrooms, it's like 0.1, 0.2 of a gram. It's a very small amount of the drug. So much so that it's not noticeable. But the mushroom or the plant is still doing the work. And there's a lot of very famous business people, certainly in like Silicon Valley, in finance, blue chip industries, in America. They're all microdosing. They're taking the mushroom. Yeah. And what the mushroom does, it affects the synapses in the brain. Yeah. And it clears the pathways and allows you to reprogram and make new thought patterns in your mind. There's a there is a science behind this. Yeah. And it enables you to, where normally you'd make a decision and you have to go through your normal thought process and pattern, and maybe at the end of that, you might arrive at actually doing something new and fresh. Yeah. It untangles all the knots, clears the pathways, you get clarity, focus, you can concentrate, and then this enables you to make new good decisions.
Yes.
You know, reprogram.
It's like in your book, one good decision followed by another good decision, followed by another good decision. Yeah. And there is the research out there to the benefits of microdosing. I haven't microdosed myself personally, but I've read testimonies and watched videos how people, like you say, gives them clarity, it gets rid of anxiety, gets rid of the stress, and they become more focused. Yeah.
It's documented now that anxiety, depression, stress levels reduced, obviously because of those three things. Then people sleep better, they rest better, they've more energy, and this is just from a tiny non-active dose of a plant medicine.
I mean, it's like myself. I have to be careful because of my job. For example, I drive a heavy goods vehicle, so I look at this carefully and research it carefully to see where I stand on a legality wise, because like you say, some plant medicines are not legal in this country, i.e. cannabis, so on and so forth. And the medicines that I'm looking at, like I say, I wouldn't drive for a period of time. I'd move that to one side so I can see the benefits of these medicines.
But the likes of, you know, psilocybin, ayahuasca, wachuma, these are all drugs that leave your body very quickly. Yeah. 72 hours, they're out your system. Yeah. You know, obviously with cannabis, as anybody knows, I don't smoke cannabis, but if you smoke cannabis, it's in your system for 4 weeks, so you could have a joint. 4 weeks later, you get pulled over for driving, you could lose your license. Yeah. You know, and as crazy as that might seem, that's the reality of it.
Well, it's like you've said in the book, and I've done it in the past, can't build the truth and a lie. We've both taken recreational drugs in the past, and we know the downfalls to it. Like I said, like you're in a certain profession, I'm in a certain profession, where it's like the legal side of it as well, and it is.
Well, if you're smart and you've decided this is something you want to do, and we're not talking about recreational drug use, but we're talking about the use of plant medicines, you know, as a plant teacher and to heal as part of a spiritual journey, then if you plan it and you go to a country where it's legal and you take it and you allow yourself time so that drug isn't in your system, if indeed it's illegal, which, you know, but you can be intelligent about it and not break any laws. You know, you don't have to break a law to do this.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Wesley Dyson.
Thanks again. This is about Wesley Dyson. Thanks again, Wesley. Loved it. Yeah. It's been amazing.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Wes, and we'll do a follow up to this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Good. This has been Midnight McBride. Thank you very much for watching the show. There'll be a show out every week at the same time. You can subscribe to the show on the YouTube channel that you're watching. This show also gets released on an audio podcast on Podbean, Spotify and iTunes. You can catch me every Monday night on Salford City Radio from midnight till midnight. That's 11 till 12 p.m. on 94.4 FM. And it's the Mind, Body and Spirit show. You can also buy my book on Amazon, and it's also available as an audiobook on Amazon, but it's available lots of other places, including iTunes, Audible, Booktopia, Goodreads, etc. And you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. I probably missed something, but there we go. Thanks very much for watching. Shalom.
Shalom. You don't laugh already, aren't you?
Not yet.
As long as you don't get me singing this time. Well,
I show that to almost every guest that comes in the studio. I do, yeah.
Ba-dum, ba-dum. I remember the tune, it's stuck in my head.
Willow, it's close to midnight. Willow, there's 3 different ones. And you can subscribe to this show. I do it every time.
This is our. Go on, one more. Go on, 3rd time lucky.
Say shalom.
Shalom.
I'll do that again. Shalom.
Shalom.
No, you say shalom to the microphone.
Shalom.
That way you keep going shalom and looking that way.
Oh, go. Shalom.
You keep looking at that.
I waited for outtakes to come out and the next one, but they're like, I would go like, hey babe, watch this. I'm on now, and you'll put an outtakes video at the end, going like, shalom. Like that, I sound like Michael Jackson, shalom. Shalom.
Can I just say, I didn't put you in touch with Janet. What I did is I gave you a lift.
Yeah, you gave me. No, we always joke that you instead played Cupid. It was like, hang on.
No,
Janet's
the opposite. It was sat in the back of the car and Steph looks at me like, no, it'll be all right, don't worry. And I was wrong.
And here we are, like 7 months later.